TPR.
But okay, this is the some roundup episode. I believe episode 7, if we're not mistaken. And if we are, it doesn't really matter. Yes, it is 7.
Deal with it.
Yes, and this is the August playlist for Hamnawa. We have Mr. Hamnawa himself, Zirak, joining us again. You should.
I sort of that.
That should be your t-shirt.
This is not the first time I've been referred to as that, which is actually, I'm intrigued by why this has become a term. Like the other thing I'm intrigued by is that when people mess up my name, regardless of race or language ability, वो ज़रीक बोलते हैं.
ज़रीक?
वो लोग हाँ स्पेलिंग है स्पेलिंग बोल रहा हूँ आदि हो गया यानी अपना ही फेलियर हो गया स्पेलिंग मैं कहता हूँ कि ZEERAK they're like अच्छा ज़रीक. I was like how did you put those two together, but it's very common. And I've yet to figure out why it happens.
There is, another. Remember, I was telling you the first time we spoke, this might not be the first time I'm hearing your name, even though I convinced myself it was. There is some other Zirak in my contacts. Email me ya kahin na M Zirak or something. You're not Muhammad Zirak, are you? This will be a weird time to reveal this.
Two truths and a lie. What is your actual first name?
But hey, so there was a Zirak, and I have no memory of who this Zirak was. Okay, a story for another time. But filhal, August ki playlist. When did you have this ready? I feel like मैं टेंशन में जाता हूँ कि playlist कर लो, and you're like, oh shit, playlist करनी होगी, डाल दो in the last week of August. Was this? What's your process? Like first week of August, so you're thinking about it, or
the way my process works is basically as I find new music, I keep adding it to my list, and then I'm sorting through it throughout the month.
Right.
And so basically the point when we talk, which is like, when are you publishing your playlist? I'm like, okay, what is my cutoff? And there are like, occasionally there will be like songs that have been there for a while where I have to make a decision, but usually it's like a running, like whatever songs, at that cutoff point are, are ones that I'm listening to a lot, will make the cutoff and be in the playlist. So that's my general process, but depending on when life is or how much I'm listening to what music, like sometimes there's up and down. So if I'm traveling,
अच्छा मुझे बताओ, has your music listening intensity, frequency fluctuated in life? Because I find when I discovered podcasts, which is when I moved here, it was an inverse relationship. जितना मैंने podcast सुनना शुरू किया, उतना music just went down. And like about 2-3 years ago, I just stopped trying to be up to date with music. दुबई में तो ये था कि I was in a car, तो वहाँ radio था, and I would just new music would just find its way to me. Chalo, TikTok, but the chain is not yet done. So you heard this song on TikTok, now here's this song as a song. So I'm exposed to it, but I'm not listening to it. Is your music listening consistent? Because abhi mujhe koi aur bhi mila tha, was like, haan yaar, main sunta tha music, pe main chhod diya.
No, it's definitely not consistent. I think it depends very much on your what environments are you in where you can listen to music, right?
Okay.
For me, like if I'm walking fast somewhere, I'm listening to music. If I'm going somewhere and I'm late, I'm listening to music. But if I am around the house doing errands, so then I will be listening to a podcast. Then you're not usually listening to music, then you'll listen to podcasts. But also depends on what sort of podcast you listen to and whether you listen to podcasts. So I think that's also a very niche क्योंकि उसमें भी बड़े सब genres निकल आते हैं लोगों को जिसमें सुनते हैं and whether or not you have a commute, I think that's also what COVID has really removed opportunities for people to be listening to stuff. तो घर बैठ के कितना सुनेंगे. So I would listen to it during the commute. I would listen to a lot of music, but I don't do that as much anymore.
मेरा भी I think I think for the past वही बात है तो फिर 2020 wow 22 is halfway done तो we've solved it. One mystery solved.
Yes, the answer is COVID. As with most mysteries, over the last 3 years, the answer is COVID. And as with most economic mysteries, the answer is dollar. So यहाँ भी यही हो रहा है. एक ही simple answer है बस. जिसको बार-बार you could keep repeating.
So this month's playlist collection. Pressure डाल दिया तुमने मुझ पे. Last time you were like, I have these 3 songs and we'll talk about them. Now you're like, you pick 3 songs. I'm like, oh shit, homework, homework करना पड़ेगा. But it was easy enough because 3 songs. I forgot the name. There was a Schumaila. I think that was her name. Yeah, with
Schumaila
an
Rehmat Hussain.
SCH, which is a choice. Unka Gana, I think I liked also because sort of at the back of my mind was Nayyar Noor's passing. And Nayyar Noor is not a classical ghazal qawwali whatever singer. She was in that weird thing called semi-classical in Pakistan. And this song really put those vibes in my mind. There was Silsila, which I'm alleging is a English Pashto rap song. Could be some other language.
I'm fairly certain it's true.
Yeah, okay. And then there was Asim Azhar. Who's Arib Azhar? Arib Azhar bhi to hai, a voice of God.
Arib Azhar, wo husne hakiki Arib
Yeah,
Azhar.
उनका एक गाना था Habibi, which I saw mention of a while ago, and I was like, I'm not going to listen to this. This doesn't seem like something I'll be interested in. But it wasn't bad. And when I was listening to it a couple times, it reminded me thoda of like thoda pehle ka pop music. Like not super pehle ka, but like 2000s, 2010s wala pop music. Cleaned up, but yeah. So we'll
That's
start with
interesting, actually.
we'll start with, what do you want to start with? Schumaila, I guess.
Sure, let's start there.
Yeah.
So when you pick these songs, I pick like what are my talking points with these songs, right? Like it's not, I'm not here to talk about like quality of songwriting. Like that's so subjective, or quality of song, let's say. Like I think a lot of song reviews are good song, bad song. I like these songs are not good, right? But that's, what's the point of that? Like nobody needs to hear me tell them what songs I should, they should like. Not worth it. So for me, it's interesting to look at, these are clearly songs that I like. They're my playlist, so they must have gotten there for reasons. Obviously, there's some subjectivity into their selection. But for me, it's interesting to talk about what is happening in the industry or what is particular about these songs that makes them interesting. So Schumaila Rehmat Hussain is interesting because this is her like second album in 2 years, second like full album of these like acoustic classical recording, right? Like, and I try to figure out how to describe her, and it's basically like coffee house acoustic classical music, right? Like she's clearly has some sort of Eastern classical training, but she sings on like an acoustic guitar, no big band, no this, right? It's, in a way, it is very like modern Sajjad Ali, if that makes sense. Like I think of that as a comparison. Sajjad Ali ki jo naye slow gaane aate hain na, one acoustic guitar, Sajjad Ali singing on top. Sajjad Ali is a more kind of like pop and lightweight sometimes, but if you look at his songs, this is for me is the analog. And the reason it's interesting is because it basically shows fluency in 2 languages, right? 2 vocabularies. Like there is the Eastern classical vocabulary, and then there is this sort of modern pop vocabulary. And those artists are interesting because they will find a way of breaking or bridging one audience into another. So the biggest example of that is Nusrat, right? Which is Nusrat took this Qawwali classical tradition and found a way to speak that language, but in other circles. So he went to like Western pop, or to like, the collaborations with all the kind of Western artists are well known, but also like Salman Ahmed, right? So he has Salman Ahmed playing on his troupe for a little while. Salman Ahmed takes his music to him, and then he like gets all of these, Bollywood also. So he finds a way of speaking like modern Western style pop with Qawwali, and finds a way of merging it, and that becomes a sort of tradition that other people can follow. So for me, Schumaila Rehmat Hussain is interesting because she does that so effortlessly, right? Like there's no straining in this song. There's no like, it's not trying to be something, it's not trying to be super catchy. It's just very calm. It goes, you can listen to the entire album, and it's like, all has the same impact on you. This is my favorite song on the album, but the rest of the album is like just as good. And the album before that is also just as good. And there's not that many people listening to her at the moment, which I think is like, I would be, that doesn't change. With the quality of work that she is like so consistently putting out. But yeah, that's my like read of the song. Does that jive with you or not?
I think so, because that's I said this in a very simplistic way, where I was like, it's like she's a semi-classical singer, but she's singing ukulele indie music, which is, that soft vibe, or I don't know if you're aware of people singing in cursive. that sort of ek hai. There's a certain way of enunciation which modern indie stars do, um, often young girls, and it's called singing in cursive. I'll send you several TikToks explaining this in detail. So
I understand the genre of this comment now.
But she's not doing that. She's singing matlab wo jaise semi-classical probably hota hai. But the music background, chill vibes, ambient vibes, like you said, coffee music, that's all there. And I went to her profile and I was expecting a child, but she's not. She, like I don't know why I was expecting like somebody who, like, this sounds like a put down, but it's not. Like it's not very old person music, which is what I would expect from semi-classical.
Right.
But it's done by somebody who is clearly not a child.
So I mean, to theorize why you're feeling that is because most of the women in the Pakistani scene that are singing on top of this kind of slow acoustic style, and the slow acoustic style is now in vogue because of TikTok, and like it's sort of the trend right now. And most of them are young girls.
Yes.
Singing like indie will often be singing in English on top. Matlab Urdu bhi kam hai. So the fact that you immediately figured that this was one of that genre of artists, you know, is interesting, and I think makes sense. And I would think of it as a compliment.
Sure.
Which to say someone from that tradition singing something so in the moment.
It seems current.
And doing it so well seems current to the point where you are mistaking their identity for having belonging to some other demographic that you would more tightly attach to the hip genre. Yeah, I think this is like great. You know,
I appreciate the save from Zero. I will accept it. Yeah, because
I have no other job but to theorize any bad theories. So this is why I went back to grad school.
So cancel hote reh gaya main. Then there is Silsila. You know, I also did like the JJ47 song. We can talk about it, but also Pishli wali episode was like all hip hop, and it seemed like that's all we talked about.
A good choice. That's why also JJ47. I just like him so much. He can put out most songs, and I will like them.
Yeah. And this was also like serious and sort of serious, like melancholy kind of tha isme. I'm not very familiar with his music, so I don't know if that's common with his vibe. But
basically, he has one vibe, and he does it well.
Acha. Silsila. Who are these people? Are they famous?
Not that I know of.
Right.
But they had so Zahoor, who is the Pushto singer, who is also, I believe, singing Urdu in this one, had this one song that he put out a few months ago, which somebody sent to me. And it is like straight up Pushto R&B, right? Like I did not realize that it was Pushto. I would, you would imagine that it's somewhere from like Spain.
Oh.
Spain se, and like for me, that's well, I mean, I don't know if Spain में कितनी R&B होती है. मैं भी हाँक दिया. Save me now. No, what I mean to say is that it sounds very global.
Yeah. Okay.
It's a very modern global sound, which is कि वो full R&B लेके और उसको the fact that he is singing in Pashto makes it even more interesting to me.
Right.
In fact, his first song was all Pashto with the rap bits interspersed. With the rapper called Curly Ney, I believe is his name.
Okay.
This song, there's a bit of Urdu and a bit of Pushto and a bit of rap, which is interesting. I think it's like more accessible, but I actually like the Pushto bits more. I think they're like more interesting to get into.
Yes. Because the music also, I mentioned the music was very familiar, like the production of the song, the accents, the beat, that immediately reminded me of like Hasan and Talal Qureshi kind of music.
Interesting.
But only in terms of the music itself. Singing and the Pushto thing obviously made it completely different. हो सकता है हमें इतना exposure now Pushto का कि we're like just drawn to this new thing. Maybe Pushto is not super represented in modern music in Pakistan historically. Sab apni jagah. But yeah, I think more than the production, I like the Pushto bit of it like a lot. I feel.
Yeah, I think so. The two things you've identified, right? One is the musical style, which is this. You've drawn parallels to Hasan Rahim, Talal, maybe even Manu when he does like his not rap ones, right? Basically, some sort of the R&B genre, which is like related to hip hop in the sense that they're not rapping, but it comes from the same kind of black American roots, right? Which is lots of vocalizing and singing the same syllable with multiple notes, which is what's different from other kinds of pop singing. Like pop singing, usually there is each syllable will usually have one note, but in sort of R&B, there's a lot more kind of up and down, which is why it lends itself to sort of Eastern singers as well, because that is what we will do. So there is a kind of natural link there. But also it's in vogue, and the fact that all of these like new young artists have taken these like trends and are now sort of localizing them and making them, I find that interesting. And I find that interesting because I think it's a lot of sort of global becoming local and local becoming global, right? Which is, I find that this music is much more global and where the trends are than say like any other scene in Pakistan in the past. Like when Junoon was big, like classic rock was not what the world was listening to, right? Junoon brought it. Junoon created a moment in Pakistan, but that was behind where the rest of the world was at. I think the early 2000s were also similar, right? Like strings, pop rock type things. Like that's not, and we missed kind of like when the world started listening to hip hop, early 2010s. Right, like the global popular charts went away from rock into hip hop, and we sort of missed that trend for a while. But it now seems that we are making music that the world is listening to. In other genres, like every part of the world is listening to this kind of music, and the fact that this is so with the trend, I find is interesting. And then the second part that I find interesting is that if this was done just in Urdu, if this song was done just in Urdu, it wouldn't be as interesting than if it was done in Pashto, right? And in some sense, the fact that it is so global lends itself to be localized in a very hyper local way. Like this में वो token representation नहीं चलती. देखिए हमने R&B गाना उर्दू में गा दिया. Like, we're past that point. We're past the point where for me, the fact that we now have to get so particular, so peculiar, right? Like we're not at the point where like, oh, Pakistan's first rapper, like that board. Now, like the interesting ones are people who are talking about like very specific issues or very specific backstory or have a very specific style, and are referring to like particular audiences. So I think that's what's interesting to me about this. And the fact that the Pashto bits are even more interesting to us, even though I don't think you speak Pashto, right?
No.
Neither do I. But they're more interesting to me than.
मैं नहीं सीखूंगा. This is a joke for legal purposes. But yeah.
Those Pashto bits are more interesting to me as well. Same way like that, one of the kind of early rap stars where the sort of Liari guys speak like rapping in Balochi. Right? Like that Balochi rap more interesting in that moment than anything else because it was something new. So that's what I find interesting about this. And I actually think like I find this is kind of like the Hasan Rahim vibe, but still unique. In a very different way. Like it has his own kind of style.
Hasan Rahim, when he sings in his language, Shini, I believe, that immediately becomes like a talking point when he does it. Kanna Yari, oh jisa pagal ho gaya Balochi gana. Wo kya naam hai? Abid Brohi, it's like wohi wali baat hai ki the music scene, the young music, pop star, rap, hip hop, R&B, electronic music scene is maturing quickly enough to the point where if you're not singing in Urdu or even in Punjabi, perhaps, because Punjabi is also very common, immediately, you're drawing attention to yourself.
I have a theory also that it's now discernible to get accents in Urdu from different places because the scene has expanded so much beyond or beyond maybe Karachi. Like the fact that we have people from so many different parts of the country now singing and rapping, you can actually begin to select
you
dialect.
Can hear his accent.
You can hear his. I think even with Hasan, like Hasan is a very peculiar way of saying
Hasan
things.
Sings sort of, and when he sings in English, he sings in cursive slightly. So there's going to be like a thread.
That may not be his accent, may just be his style.
But that's only when he sings in English. Urdu mein to it's fine.
Right. But with rappers, you can tell like Lahore rappers from Karachi rappers, from the Baloch rappers, the Karachi Urdu speaking rappers from the Karachi Baloch rappers, as they switch language. Like it's very, you can begin to get dialects, which I think are very interesting.
What is JJ's background? Ethnic. He's not Urdu speaking, right? His singing. There's an accent to his Urdu. He might be, in which case, again, off the cancel cliff. But he did a podcast with Qazi. Hum wo check karenge. But yeah, because there was an accent there too, and that that really just sets it apart from what was the mainstream. कि हर कोई ऐसे ही गाता है, This is the one type of Urdu. This is the one type of Punjabi, and this is all. This is all we have. All we should have. But acha, the third Gana that I was not expecting to include, just because of being an old person, Asim Azhar, Habibi. What have you followed Asim Azhar over the years? He's been around
Not
for
really.
a while.
In fact, I would like you to put in words why you said that you would not have listened to Asim Azhar otherwise. Like that you ignored it before I put it in here. Why was that?
Because I associated Asim Azhar when he came out. He had this like strong Pakistani Justin Bieber vibe to him, image, whatever. Okay, you know, usi age ka young boy singing croony kind of songs, वगैरह. And अब हम बूढ़े हो गए हैं बस, तो हमने अपने ऊपर रिस्ट्रिक्शन लगा लिया कि ये हमें पसंद नहीं आ सकता. And उसको वो था भी बच्चा when he came out. And then, you know, I saw stuff on and off. I think he was on Coke Studio a few times, वगैरह. Then he had that song, the Tum Tum wala gana. And I was like, acha nahi suna. It's okay, because when I heard it, I was like, yeah, chalo, maybe I am too old. But this was fine. It was like a decent, modern, but still thoda retro kind of pop song. Like, this is a very 2010s sound, wala gana. And there's this Habibi does not go into Arabic territory as much as Haroon's Mehbooba. A missed opportunity, perhaps. But yeah, it was decent. It was fun.
Why so did you... As a callback, you know, when we said shuru mein ke all explanations are COVID and dollar, I believe we have a third one to that list, which is कि हम बूढ़े हो गए.
Right.
हम आसिम अजहर को इसलिए नहीं सुनते. हम बूढ़े हो गए. It's interesting. I mean, I think there is certainly in my circle, like Asim Azhar was not what we were listening to, but if you look at the numbers, he is huge. You know? Like, मतलब ये Atif Rahat, Asim Azhar, Bilal Saeed, Momina Mustahsan, these are like a separate. This is a separate ball game of things. Like ये हम सारे rappers, Manu Shanu, this is like one bracket, but these guys are playing a different game.
Really.
And it's hard for me to, unlike order of magnitude level of difference. It's not just कि हाँ थोड़ा सा, मतलब Asim has what, like a few million listeners on Spotify a month. Okay. Which is, it's not.
I'll start.
Not casual.
I'm gonna start it.
So, but like a few of his recent things have been kind of drama OSTs. That Tum Tum thing was like super pop. So it's interesting that it's hard to find an entryway into that world if you're not like already sort of into it. And that you have described this pop as somewhat retro, like 2010s. I don't know enough about 2010s pop to know whether how much of that link is, you know, us or how much of it is the actual fabric of the song. But I think perhaps what's happening here is that these big artists find a way of hitting the trend for the large audience at the right time. Right? Like let's take hum jo R&B ki baat kar rahe the, hip hop ki baat kar rahe the. That's kind of what the world is listening to. Like, you know, people who are into the scene are listening to that sort of music now. But it's not fully like mainstream yet. Like it's not like what's on TV channels, not what's on the radio all of the time, but Asim can be, right? And it's almost as if an audience of like a super large magnitude that doesn't want to like follow the trend super quickly can get into this music easier. It's kind of drama OST music, film music, like that's kind of why. So maybe they're playing the trend at the right time for the right audience. Like most you know artists with an E type musicians don't like doing this, right? Because they want to be ahead of the trend. They want to be like pushing, creating the sound. And most of like the sort of indie that we talk about usually, I believe, have that desire. Like they want to be making new music, interesting music. Like they want to be interesting from a musical standpoint.
Following the trend is almost like bad for them,
right?
Morally,
right. And so I don't think Asim is necessarily playing that same motivational game. Like he's playing a much more
mainstream.
Much more mainstream, much more pop. And you know, occasionally it can be like really good. Like this song for me is like, you know, you can listen to it in all of your other songs and you wouldn't feel like you're changing gears at all. It's very nice. The other thing that I think is very interesting about this is that it is TikTok. Like,
is it?
I was in Pakistan during like soon after this song was released, and every video is using Habibi. So I think that's like a big kind of part
this हाँ ये टिकटॉक वाली बात ना brings me to this other thing that I just realized क्योंकि मैं अभी डेस्कटॉप पे मैंने खोला हुआ था so everything is much more spread out on the Spotify thing and you can see the song durations and they're short, all of
Yeah.
them. I think the longest song is maybe 3:14. Several songs are 2 minutes, early 2 minutes. Yeah, Habibi is also like 3-ish, just over 3 minutes. So that really is happening in Pakistan maybe. People are making smaller songs that work better in short form videos like TikTok, and that symbiotic relationship is happening. Do you think it's being done consciously? Yeah, but that's just the way it is.
Very much so. I think globally it's being done consciously. Pakistan maybe I think people are thinking about it. I don't think a lot of the stars are active on TikTok as much yet as they are on YouTube and Instagram. But we saw globally that Spotify created a situation where artists had to make the first 15 seconds of their song super interesting. Varna people would skip. Right? And so that changed actually the way that you would make music. And this is not true of like software generation. This is true of literally every medium change that has occurred in music ever, right? Like albums aati thi shuru mein, so you would fill out like that. Why are we have
there's
LPs and EPs? There's a
which
B
is
side, there's an A
less famous,
side, single aata hai, gana aata hai. Kyun? It's all descriptions of the medium. That's it. And some of those descriptions come to this day. So when somebody releases a song, releases an album that's 4 songs, it's called an EP. And when somebody releases a full album, it's called an LP, because that referred to the actual size of the disc that they were originally released on, but now have no meaning. You could release an album with 3.5 songs or 18 songs, and it would make a difference medium-wise. But people still refer to them as
EPs and LPs
in terms of the medium, right? Or if you release 20 songs, you'd call it a double album because it would have to be like 2 records, but now just the same Spotify page. But that's how we refer to them. But that's also how artists think about it. Like artists are thinking about, am I making an album? Am I making an EP? Am I making a double EP? Am I making a single? Like they're still thinking about their music making in the format of the medium. So radio play required like a very particular kind of
under 5 minutes.
Very particular kind of medium, but you can't do like prog rock type stuff now on TikTok or on Spotify. Like if you had this like extended Dark Side of the Moon style intro for the first minute before you get into the hook, like nobody's going to get into your music except for like people who are really into it. And so I think that's also makes sense why this like R&B, hip hop style, even the pop style, Asim Azhar type, that it gets into the hook and to like a catchy bit super quickly. And then that part is like clipped for TikTok and then reused over and over again. The
chorus
to it,
usually,
there's some catch, and there's rumors now that TikTok is about to launch like a music service, which makes sense, right? Like so they have created like the world's most used music discovery engine, and that they would extend into a music service.
I mean, it's not making money perhaps for creators, TikTok, which is the big allegation against them versus YouTube. But for musicians, it's great. Like people go directly from अच्छा ये गाना हमने 80 TikToks में देख लिया है, I'll go find it on Spotify because now I'm just used to hearing it. So which is obviously what TikTok is trying to capitalize on कि हम ही आपको सुना देते हैं.
And I think there's actually the music industry historically has been skeptical of the tech industry for various reasons. They made one mistake with the iTunes store, regretting it since. And so, but with streaming, it's been tough to try to figure out like a model that works for everyone. But with TikTok, like they're geting a lot more
people are seeing
in a way. They're seeing new songs in a way that they wouldn't have seen otherwise. So the medium of the software lends itself to discovering new music and for it to go viral really quickly. I don't know if they've still like closed the loop yet. Like if you listen to a song on TikTok, how many people are actually going to go listen to it on Spotify or on YouTube? Like I think that's the missing piece, which I imagine TikTok is like rumored to want to be solving. But I think it's only natural to assume that Pakistani artists will spend more time on TikTok.
मैं सोच रहा हूँ पाकिस्तान में क्या फायदा है? because पाकिस्तान में आपको royalties तो मिलेंगी नहीं. चलो Spotify है तो you do get plays. Is that I suppose it must be translating to live performances because again, how are artists making money? Live performances primarily, or ads.
So if you're really big, you make money on YouTube and Spotify as well. Spotify less so, but YouTube more so. Like I think YouTube pays better, like of all the platforms. Spotify is something else. Then I think it translates to some live gigs and also like advertisement type contracts. Depending on what, because these numbers are visible, right? Like I think in Pakistan's marketing industry, what you find is that the way that they establish whether their money is being spent well is some verifiable number. Like
Yeah,
they would
yeah,
originally
yeah.
ask for like Google Analytics screenshot दिखाएं कितने लोग आ रहे हैं. But now on Instagram you can see what the followers are. YouTube
Yeah,
पे you can see number of
yeah.
plays. So I think just having those numbers gives artists the level of legitimacy.
Yes.
To
because
go
वही वाली
forward.
बात है ना, like we said, all artists are now also full-time creators as well, like,
Yeah.
and as you said, they have always been. तो हाँ, I suppose ये एक फायदा है, बेशक आपको streaming का ना हो, but like, you know, if it's increasing your follower count, your reels have viewed more, whatever, it's more advertising validity. I suppose there's a word that I've forgotten, but you're more you're more respectable. Again, nahi aa raha mujhe word. Advertisers like you more. Yeah.
I mean, I think it's reached the point now where Pakistan you can find like, you know, occasional videos will be like the way some पीछे कोई थोड़ा सा rap चल रहा हो, कोई आप देखते हैं, and it's like a TikTok only rapper. Like this person is not putting music out anywhere. They're just making sounds for TikTok. It's like a 30-second rap thing that people are then rapping to. So this
that's interesting.
So I don't think it's like super big yet, but it's certainly like increasing. So I imagine that these like big folks will start
because it would
getting on
make
that.
sense if your first exposure to rap for Pakistan, for somebody in Pakistan, is through TikTok, and then they're like they might not even be aware that this is like a career job genre.
As an audience, even if you're aware of rap as a genre, with TikTok, just like scrolling through it, you're more likely to run into a part of a song that you actually like.
Yes.
And then you get into the genre, right? You get into the hook. So Asim's big on TikTok. Other people might be soon. So that's why I think the song is interesting. So we're probably going to see like more of this.
Okay. I think that's good. Trying to keep it tight. Anything else you want to mention? Any shout outs? कौम को खिताब?
कौम को खिताब? कौम को मैंने खिताब देना शुरू कर दिया तो हालात अच्छे नहीं हैं. So we will leave it at that.
Yeah. Okay. चलो ठीक है. Thank you very much. We're going to stop recording. Hopefully, you know, the internet was not good. If you made it this far, you know, but आवाज आ रही थी all the way through. And one day we will figure it out.